we have a special day for us today in church. It is significant because we have a guest with us, and because it's someone that I've greatly admired for many years. His name is Grylls, and he is an adventurer, and basically started the whole reality TV adventuring genre. He began all of that, and it's amazing to see the opportunities that he's had over the years. And he's with us today because he's in America, and he is doing a huge kind of book tour and having all kinds of incredible opportunities to talk about the Lord Jesus Christ. And I don't think that it's any coincidence. All the research around faith and spirituality and all the surveys around that in our nation are pointing towards the reality that people are moving towards greater and greater openness to the things of God and His reality in their life and His love for them. And in a season where that's taking place, and at the same time, we find so much division in our society. I see a providence in Bear being here in this country with a voice that is unifying and with a voice that is all about glorifying the Lord Jesus Christ. And so I'm grateful that he's here. We're about to play a short video just to explain a little bit about who he is. I think in the industry they call it a sizzle reel. It's going to be a little hot and spicy. We're going to check that out. And then straight after that, Bear is going to come. He's going to share with us for a few moments, and then we're going to do an interview on the stage. So check out the screens and then get ready to give a huge, big welcome to Bear as he comes to bring a word.
I'm a survivor. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to work harder.
So kind, you guys. Thank you. Everyone all right? We're all survivors, really. First of all, just say thank you. It's very special for me to be with you guys here. I feel amongst friends and amongst family, so thank you for being so warm. I've been asked to share a few words on what both adventure and faith mean to me, and what part that those two words have played in my life. But to be honest, to talk about faith, I know we're in a church, but to talk about faith honestly is actually really hard. I find it really hard. It's a bit like trying to describe, I don't know, swimming maybe, or ice cream. But I will do my best for you here today. When I first joined the military, as a young soldier, when I first joined the British Special Forces, a man once much wiser than me said to me, there are three things in life to have faith in. Faith in yourself, faith in each other, and faith in the Almighty. And I always remembered that. But what does having faith really mean? You know, how does it guide us? How does it empower us? Because when life is going great, it's easy to think that we don't need anything. And we try maybe to go it alone. But what happens when we do that is life tends to hit us really hard. Left field often, and it takes our legs away. And it asks some difficult questions. And when that happens, if our foundations are shaky, we all fall down. And I've seen it often. I've seen it often in the wild. You know, everyone thinks they're strong until they aren't. And myself included. You know, the wild is a super humbling place. But it is a universal truth that whoever we are, wherever we all face our time of testing. It will come. It does come. That's life. It's called our Everest, if you like. And it might be an actual mountain. It might be a metaphorical mountain. It might be a tough time at home for you, maybe right now. Maybe a tough time at work. Maybe something worse. Maybe we lose someone really close to us. Whatever it is, life is always going to test us at some point, and our Everest always comes. I was lucky many years ago to get to stand on the summit of that mountain, on the summit of Everest, that high, hostile, incredible peak. And it was extraordinary. You know, you see the curvature of the earth at the edges, and you're just aware you're somewhere really special. But that peak also took its toll, and we had 4 climbers lose their lives whilst we were up there. Two died of the cold, and 2 fell to their deaths. And it's just what high mountains do. You know, they kick the hell out of us. And to be honest, on that mountain, I experienced as many moments of struggle and doubt as I did moments of eyes wide wonder. And people often ask me, they say, well, what helped you? What helped you up there? What's helped you since? You know, in so many jungles and deserts and other tough places. And the truth for me is found in that one word: faith. Especially in each other, and especially in the Almighty. Because I've learned that on my own, I'm weak. But connected to something bigger than me, I become stronger. And my faith helps me in so many ways, so many little unseen moments in my life, from the day job to being stuck in quicksand and pinned in rapids and avalanches and rock falls and parachute failures. But of course in life too, in the good times, but also in the tougher times. And I've just learned to lean on the beautiful presence of Christ within. Empowering and quiet, always there, never let me down. But having a faith doesn't mean everything's always easy. If anything, it's been the opposite. It's meant battles, many struggles, and also many doubts. maybe especially the doubts. Because they're two sides of the same coin, faith and doubt. You know, you can't have faith without doubt. It's just part of life. Part of life, and I've learned that it is okay. And then other times I've tried to do without my faith and to go it alone. And I've survived for a while. But alone we can never be fully empowered. Time and many adventures have taught me that. It's like a point of awareness. I've come to realize that having the Almighty inside of us, inside of me, to be like light to a dark path, to be peace to sometimes a troubled spirit, and strength to a failing body, is the starting point of all true adventure. It's really the beginning. So for me now, when it comes to quietly bending the knee and asking for that peace to strengthen me and to lead me into light, we have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And as they say, man is never as tall as when he kneels down. And I've always loved that. And I know we're going to answer some questions with you guys in a moment, but I want to finish by sharing just some words that I once saw carved into a little wooden cross in a high mountain chapel in the Swiss Alps. Tiny little chapel, old creaky door, no lock. Went inside, a stool and one wooden cross just in the middle, and beautifully etched into this cross were words I've never forgotten. Christ beside me, Christ within me, Christ to shield me, Christ to win me. And those are the words I want to leave you with today, from the Swiss Alps to the Sony Hall. Thank you.
I loved that. I think we're going to have a couple of stools come up and we'll ask some questions. But you did mention something just then that I didn't feel like we could just go past. You said parachute failure. But we're here having a conversation. Is there anything you care to elaborate on for us?
Well, that was a bad time. I wish I could have known at the time that one day I'd be able to laugh about it, because it was actually a real, like a dark moment, that. But I was a young soldier.
When you said that, I was presuming you were still on the ground. Obviously not.
That would have been better. Yeah. I wasn't. But no, I was in Africa. I was on a training jump from 14,000 feet. It was getting dark, and I had a canopy come out crazy and just was spiraling down very fast, smashed into the desert, broke my back in 3 places, and spent many months back in the UK, strapped up in braces and all of that. I broke my back in 3 different places, and was told for many months that, you know, I wouldn't know whether I was going to be able to walk again properly, let alone climb ever again. And I was a serving soldier at the time. I was doing a job I loved, and I just remember in that hospital thinking, like, what's life going to look like? You know, I can't even reach a bathroom over the room without pain. And, you know, but I look back on that time, it's like the things that often hit us left field. Like I said, they're so hard at the time, but they are often the making of us. They really are. And I definitely wouldn't be here today if I hadn't have had that accident. And that was a door opener then to eventually getting stronger into Everest, and then I left the military and wrote a book, and then Discovery Channel approached, and before we know it, the TV journey had begun. But the start was struggle and a dark place. So I've learned to see the long game sometimes in things, and to hope beyond the moment.
I've never spoken to anyone that's had a parachute failure, and my conception is you just don't survive something like that. Was it easy for you to wrestle with this sense of providence in being alive at the same time as the struggle of the pain and what you're going through?
I don't think I ever spiritualized it as like that. I kind of just was, for me, it was the doctor saying you should be paralyzed and me having an acute awareness of like I've been given a second chance in life and I'm never going to take that for granted, and I'm just going to live life with gratitude and with boldness. I'm going to go for things. I'm not going to be so scared of fail. It's like everything is a grace period now. So I just approached life like that. My faith helped me so much in those dark times for sure, but just quietly, and then you start to rebuild your life.
What was the heart for you, and what did you love about being in the Special Forces?
I don't know. Again, I look back on that time, a huge privilege, hard work, obviously, but some of the best friends in my life still to this day. That connection with those you serve with, I think, in that sort of unit is always tight. Obviously gave me skills that I use in my day job since, which have always been there, and I'm grateful for that. But I think also a confidence that I can look after myself when the chips are down, and that's been such a sort of key part of my work, I think, since, in the wilderness and the survival stuff and the adventure shows, and also just through the stuff of life and so many things that we've failed at along the way. It's like having good foundations of, my faith has been such a big part of that, and I think those early years of service were a big part of that.
I've seen you do shows where you're doing stuff like jumping out of choppers into water, doing all of these crazy things from heights. Was there ever a fear for you of being high again and releasing yourself into the air and what that had kind of been in the past? And what does overcoming that fear look like?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously, I think one thing I have learned in my life is how to deal with fear. It's been a constant journey, man, for me. It still is. And I've learned just don't run from the scary stuff. It's what most people do. We run from what we're nervous of and what we're terrified of. I mean, I find speaking in public really scary. I'm not joking. I physically shake before getting on stage. And it might surprise you. And I don't say it lightly. I really do. But I've learned that that's okay. The only way through our fear is through it and moving towards it. So, thank you. But, you have to train that a little bit, and you train it by doing it, just not in the mega scary things, but just little things every day. Little things. The scary things are where we build our resilience. Resilience isn't a God-given muscle. It's something you've got to earn. It's not like some people just have big, if you want a big biceps, you've got to train it. Some people have natural good looks or something clever, or that's God-given. But the resilience is like you got to build it. You can't just expect to be a never give upper in life in the big moments. You have to build it. So I've learned that about fear. And in answer to skydiving, for those of you that know my day job, you'll know I skydive all the time. Now, it's a conscious choice, do the difficult stuff. The best jump I ever had in my life was I did a show on Jesus a couple of years ago. It just came out on TBN called Refugee, Renegade, Redeemer. And I went to Israel with a motorbike, a parachute, and a couple of buddies in a tent. Traveled around, told the story. But I got to skydive in to the Holy Land. This was like a week before October the 7th, 2 years ago. So it's amazing timing. But whenever I skydive, ever since my accident, I always I cross myself and I go, Jesus, fly with me. It's just my little weird inner monologue for me. But this time, that door opened, I see the Sea of Galilee down there. Like, it was epic. Tiny, whoosh. And I went, Jesus, fly with me. And that was a cool moment. The parachute opened, sweet.
It's pretty cool. Like, a lot of people do these tours in Israel. They'll, walk where Jesus walked. But you were, flying where Jesus flew. You probably ascended in that same vicinity. That's a whole nother kind of experience. You're like...
Well, I always had a real dream so we do a show called Running Wild, where we take Hollywood superstars away, and we've done it with amazing people over the years, from Obama to all sorts of people. But my dream, somebody said to me, said, you've done these great people, you've done the best, you've done the president and then all these things, and like, you should take Jesus one day, like joking. And I always thought that would be epic, like you might say. And actually we did a special episode, a whole series with the chosen cast. And it comes out early next year where I took each of them. And the last one we did was wonderful Jonathan Rumi. And I really had to keep resisting the temptation to like go, fishing's going to be easy this evening. And, you walk across a lake, I'll swim. And, poor guy's had these things all his last 5 years of his life. So I had to really hold that back. But I kind of got to do Running Wild with Jesus.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
I've watched him give interviews, and he's very gracious in the way that he meets with people, because people approach him sometimes like he is Jesus.
The whole
to
time
pray
I've
for
seen
them.
it. It's like a total head screw. I mean, it's like, And actually credit to him, because he stayed so gentle and humble and honest and doesn't play that at all, so he's great.
That's very cool. That you have this sense of, in culture at the moment, there's a lot that plays on our fears. And there's a lot in our environment that uses fear to try and sell or to try and control and these kinds of things. And you talk about in the little things, overcoming fear. And what would you say to young people who are maybe struggling with fear, wrestling with fear? Some of us older people that are struggling with fears, wrestling with fears. What would be some good ways to face that in small doses?
I think treat it as a good sign. It means you're out of your comfort zone. Right. It's good. For me, they've become green lights. They're like, okay, we're in it. Time to train. Here we go. And I treat it like that. Treat the fear, and I seek it out in doses, and it's training. It's like going to the gym. It's training. And remember, nature doesn't give you anything that's not helpful. It's there for a purpose. It's only not helpful when you're never used to it, and you're thrown into a mega scary situation, and the anxiety becomes overwhelming. That's not nature's fault. It's just giving you, it doesn't know how to control it yet. It's just giving you a squirt of the juice, and you're like, boom, like it's too much. Shut down. You see it in street fights and stuff. It's never like the movies. Like street fight, people soil themselves, can't speak, can't take their phone out or give them to the wallet. They're just like, gone. There's an overload of adrenal energy. But if you train it, if you get used to doing scary stuff every day, just whether it's a cold shower in the morning, little things, like we have to build, God's given us amazing body and mind and soul. It's like, but you're not made as Superman. You got to build it. It's like life is hard work, and you get what you put in. You got to put that work in a little bit. So I treat it. If you're experiencing a lot of anxiety, it's because it's kind of it's overwhelming at the moment. So take a step back, but begin to train into it, and seek it out in small doses. And treat it as a green lights, and then learn to get okay with it. Now we've got it. Now we push on. We'll stretch it a little bit more. Sometimes for people, you've got to start really small, because anxiety has become such a big thing. But that's okay. I'm just saying it's like it is there for good, and it can be a really positive thing in your life. So, and also ask for help from the Lord is the other. I mean, it's a big thing as well. It's not. It's not just. I don't think life works like. I need this, God give it to me, it's going to give it. Life's not as simple as that. But there is a power to trust and faith and asking for help. And I think there is a real power in just bowing the head and asking the Lord to be with you. I know it's simple, but it's ultimately your real power prayer. And I do it often. I do it every day. I mean, I have to do it every day because I'm scared every day. I've learned it's my first. It's like you go into the arsenal of weaponry. Where are you going to get your weapons from? Number one is I've learned I've got to walk towards it. Number two, I need the Lord. Or maybe it's the other way around. Number one, I need the, but you've got to draw your weapons. But the problem is in life is that people pick the wrong weapons. They pick a catapult against a bazooka. It's like the Lord is a great weapon, so use it. And it's the one command in the Bible repeated the most, as 365 times. Be courageous. And he gives us that. He gives us that when we ask.
I love that. I love that reframing of it as well. Not something to move away from, but something to move towards. A reminder that you're alive. Train in the small, pray, and no street fights. Just to be clear, avoid those.
You really want to avoid the street
fights. Yeah. one of the things you're talking about, faith and prayer. Could you tell us how that came to be a part of your life?
I think I had a really natural faith as a kid, so I believed in something, and it was good, and I couldn't really articulate it more than that. Then I went to church and school, and we had to go to chapel every day. Most of it was in Latin. The pastors had long white robes, spoke in Latin from the pulpit, and had hairy nostrils, and it was like, it was like, wow, I've really got God wrong. This guy is scary. Yeah. And so I kind of threw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, I'm done. I wish it had been like when I was little, but I was wrong. It's like this. And then I remember when I was 16, losing my godfather, who was like a second father to me, part of our life, always growing up, super close, died out of the blue. And I just remember being heartbroken. And as a teenager, just walking at school down to the playing at the soccer pitches and walking down on my own one evening, just wanting some time out, and tears rolling down my cheeks. And I remember sitting at the base of a tree and saying these words, "Please God be with me. Amen." Wasn't any more complicated than that. It's a prayer. I just didn't know it at the time. And nothing dramatic happened, no bolt of lightning, but from small acorns, oak trees grow. And from that moment, a light was quietly lit in my heart, and that flame has never gone out. It's gone up and down like the pilot light, but it's never gone out. And it's been a constant source of strength through so many adventures, so many moments. And I know what I stand on now, and I'm not scared to admit that. And I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it.
Love that. You talk about the wilderness and Jesus experiencing the wilderness, and you're in wilderness and wild places a lot. We were just on a team retreat. We were reflecting on Luke chapter 4. Jesus comes out of the waters of baptism. Holy Spirit descends like a dove. Voice from heaven. "This is my son whom I love, with whom I'm well pleased." And then Jesus is led by the Holy Spirit into the wilderness. And it's not even something that we find just once in Jesus' life. The Bible talks in the next passage in Luke chapter 5 that he withdrew often to wilderness and these wild, isolated places. What have you experienced of God's presence? What happens in those places that maybe has an element of the supernatural, the divine to it when you encounter it?
Well, again, it makes the wild sound all very nice, and like God is like, the reality is brutal. I mean, I've been to that Negev desert in Israel, the other side of the River Jordan, and I found it interesting. The first thing happened after the baptism, like in all of our lives. He didn't then go and get a massage. He went across and walked into the desert for 40 days. I've survived in that desert for 2 days and it almost broke me. It's not a fun desert. This is like rock, barren, super heat. Just snakes everywhere. It's like brutal. So expect battles after the baptisms in our life, the moments in our life. But I've learned those places aren't always friendly, but I've also learned that don't do them on your own. Alone we're weak, is what I said. But with the Almighty inside of our hearts, we are empowered. And I think through a lifetime in the wild, I've learned that don't do this place on my own. You're going to be weak. It's like the glove in the hand. If you hold up a glove, it's just a limp thing. But with a hand inside it, it develops shape and strength. I don't want to go into a jungle with a limp glove. I need the boxing gloves. I need to go in strong. So I ask for the Lord to be the hand every morning and for me to be the glove. And that's how, yeah.
I love that. From the time you broke your back and went on that huge journey, there's this theme of never give up. Could you speak to us about that idea? Have there been these moments where you've just felt like it's too much, I'm out? You talk about it even with faith just today, how it sometimes gets harder and it's like you think that's going to make everything easier, but it doesn't necessarily. What does that idea of never giving up mean for you?
Well, it's sort of become a mantra in our lives and in our families' lives and in our crew lives, because the rest is window dressing, isn't it? You know, skills come and go, knowledge you can learn, but the heart of all great survival, the great survival stories on the big mountains and the difficult ocean crossings, is always about the spirit. Like, hang on in there. Be the dogged, determined, never say die guy. But to get there, you've got to draw from the right well. You know, you can't draw from a shallow, empty well full of sand and expect to be like an empowered, never give upper, because we're weak. You know, so you've got to draw from the right well. And I just love the language of Jesus in all his life. It's always about living water, bread of life, super practical to provide us that muscle and that power to keep going through the storms. And he never said you're not going to have storms. He said prepare for battle. You know, that was the message, really. You know, but I'm with you.
You've written this book, which is absolutely incredible. I really loved it. I listened to it with a friend of mine. We went on a long drive and just listened to it together and just loved it. And I know that some of this came about through your time in Israel and walking where Jesus walked, flying where Jesus flew. Can you tell us about that experience and then your heart for wanting to write about Jesus?
Yes, that's really why. I know this book has been the hardest, but best thing I've ever done. And it's the proudest thing I've ever done. I would give up every Emmy and Everest Summit and all of the stuff, all of the tins and pots, I give up in a heartbeat. I've written a lot of books now. I'd give them all up just to have done this, because it's the greatest story ever told. It's his story, history. It's like a story that affects all of our lives. You can bring any culture, any faith, any age, any state of mind, human being in front of us today, right now, from Russia, from China, to kids, to broken, to whoever. And it affects our lives, all of our lives. It affects our future. It affects our relationships. It affects our aspirations. It affects where we get our confidence. It affects where we get our spirit to never give up. It affects everything. So, like I say, proudest thing I've ever done. It's like touching lives all over the world. I feel it's actually no longer my book. I feel it's kind of, I felt like clear the decks, write this book. Nobody's ever written the story of Jesus, ever, as a thriller, theologically 100% accurate, but as like a ripper. Like short, sharp. I find the Bible hard, you know, and I'm a person of faith, and it's like hard to read the Bible. Trying to ask regular people to read the Bible, it's like, forget it. Try and ask a Muslim to read the Bible, forget it. You know, it's just forget it. So I wanted to do something as a bridge. Like, this is like anyone you can recommend this. It's so easy. It's like 2-page chapters. It's a story, and it's totally new and afresh. So I get letters every day, and they all say the same thing. I had no idea. Just no idea. I knew stories. I'd heard of the Nativity, and I heard about this guy being crucified. Maybe knew the story of the Good Samaritan, but I never knew the whole story. The story of love for humanity, how radical, how wild, how free, how fun, how everyday people were drawn to him. Why was he accused of being a glutton and a drunkard? I thought he was like a religious icon. Why? Why did the elite fear him so much? So it's in there, and it's having a life of it. So it's just starting. This is a week one.
Yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant. And you talk about how you worked to make it theologically accurate, and you tell this story of Jesus from multiple eyewitness accounts of his life, which was really neat. And you've worked with some people. What was it like working with some theologians to look at what the context was like and how to stay true to some of those things?
Well, this was a real kind of team effort, and we worked a lot with the chosen theologians who were incredible, really helped us craft this. We worked with great theologians back in the UK. You know, a whole incredible team of people who we stand on the shoulders of giants with this one. And I actually get a lot of theologians, like top professors in theology, write to me, and they said, I opened this thinking, here we go, what's this? This is going to be, I bet you haven't got this. And then they get to the end, they go, good job. And that's not me, by the way. That's our team. We had hours and hours of endless conference calls about the tiniest little intonations of things. But I stand by it, and it's doing its job.
I love that. I love that. That's like high praise from a professor. Oh, good job. You know, it's like as good as it gets. If there's one thing you would have in your heart for people to hear from you about Jesus, what would it be?
That line, everything to gain, nothing to lose. I never understand why. I don't understand why faith is like the barriers for people are always wrapped up in religion. And like experience of 2,000 years of the church kind of screwing it up a lot of the time and making it sanitized and smiley and all of that. And it's like it's just super personal. It's like those broken moments. Church is a hospital, not a cafe. You know, it's like we lean on each other in our broken moments and seek the Almighty and then to go out into life. And who doesn't want to find peace? Who doesn't want to find home? Who doesn't want to be strengthened for the storms of life? I don't care who you are. So I kind of try and keep it simple like that. This one doesn't need selling. This is like...
I love that. You focus on this idea of he who saves when you talk about Jesus. What does that line mean to you?
Well, it's how I start the book. We call him, all of them by their Aramaic names through the book. So Jesus is Yeshua. And it's the first line in the book, Yeshua, he who saves. And I don't know, I think it's no accident this was his name. It wasn't he who makes you behave a little better. He who says, go to church on Sunday or you're in trouble. Dress like this, speak like this, do that, you're in trouble. It's just simple. It's like Jesus, he who saves. Let him do his job. And it's a starting point of faith. Kneel down, all of us, every morning. Let him do his job. As Mary said to Jesus, it's one of my favorite bits in the book, when she just gives him the nudge at Cana at that wedding. Just come on. And he goes, it's not my time. It's not my time. They've run out of wine. It's not my time. I'm having fun. And then eventually, it's the only time Mary takes no notice of her son. She said, turns to the servers. Do whatever he says. She knows she's got him. It's time. It's time. And I'm a soldier. I treat it like that. Those are words in my heart. Just do whatever he says. Whew, that always, yeah. Thank you for being so lovely, everybody. May God bless all of you.
Come on, can we give a huge hand to Bear? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.